to Stephanie B. Creativity. It is pumpkin time, and if you've made a hat, you can make a pumpkin. The coolest thing is, all of these pumpkins are made exactly the same way. They just have a different number of rounds. The blue pumpkin is 15 rounds, the white pumpkin is 40 rounds, and the orange pumpkin is 25 rounds. But they all have the same number of rib columns. Stick around and see how easy this project really is. The full written instructions are down below in the more information box. I'm using my 22 needle Centro knitting machine that's been upgraded. The link for the upgrading video is up in the corner. Unpopular opinion alert, I love my Centro 22 better than my Addy 22 now that it's been updated. Let's get started. These pumpkins are made with just straight knitting rounds. After you've knit all the rounds, then you will go back in and do the ribbing. I'm using number 4 worsted weight yarn. You use very little for these projects. The yarn is a Red Heart Super Saver, and it works great on this little machine. We're going to do a standard back and forth cast on. It's the first cast on you'll learn how to do when you're making a hat. And so when you get all the way around, you're going to put the yarn into the yarn holder. And I tension using my hands. I don't use the little tensioner thing. I'm going to do 15 rounds straight through. There was no tucking, no dropping, any of that stuff. It was perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and start the ribbing. The ribbing is really easy. You need a loom pick and a crochet hook. That's it. You're going to take the loop off of the hook, and I do that by releasing the knitting from underneath of those fingers on either side of the needle. Then use the loom pick and pull the loop off. Be careful, don't break your needle. Then you go down to the bottom of your knitting, however long your tube is, go to the bottom, grab those 2 strands from the cast on, pinch them between your fingers, and then pull. The stitch then drops all the way down the column, and you've got a loop left at the end that you can put your crochet hook in. You're just going to slip stitch each of those little ladders back into the knitting. Just like picking up stitches when you drop them, except you're doing it the other direction. This way, you're creating a column of knit stitches on the wrong side of your fabric. It makes it so you end up having more columns of rib stitches on the right side. It's like magic. When you're at the very last loop that's on your hook, you're going to want to put it back on the needle. Make sure that you push the whole knitting down underneath of those fingers on either side of that needle. And that's it. Knit forward to the next column that you want to do your rib stitching. Make sure that you get all of the yarn off with the loop. Sometimes the yarn will split. Don't worry about it. Just make sure it all comes off. Pinch that bottom, grab your crochet hook, and walk back up the ladder. After you've done this a couple times, you get very proficient. However, you can get a little bit cocky. And I do that sometimes. I'm running along here, I'm picking up all of my stitches, I get to the last one, and it falls off my crochet hook when I'm trying to put it back on the needle. Whoops! You just go back and redo those stitches and put the thing back on the needle. Don't worry about it. You just need to pay attention to what you're doing. I'm only doing 7 columns of ribbing. So, just keep going. You get better at it. You get faster at it every time you do this. Now, I'm ready to do my basic long tail cast off, which is cut a long tail, put it on a darning needle, and you're going to crank forward without having any yarn under the hook. When you do that, it's going to slip the loop over those two little pegs, and then that loop is released from the machine. All you have to do is slip your needle through and it picks it right up. You're going to work your way all the way around the whole machine. It's only 22 stitches. Doesn't take very long. If you like this video, make sure and click that like button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know, have you made a bunch of hats? Have you made other home decoration items? I've got a bunch of autumn-inspired home decoration items, and they will even take you through winter. So keep your eyes open and click that subscribe button. Make sure to click that bell for your notifications too. And we're almost all the way around here. Just don't crank too far until you've really got a handle on how well these loops hold on to the machine, because if you crank too far, you could end up losing all the loops off before you've picked them up with your needle. It's not the end of the world. You just put the needle through the loops, but it can be a little bit more tricky. Now all I'm going to do is finish this end just like a hat. Use your drawstring, pull it down nice and tight, make sure that all of your loops are nice and seated down flat. We're going to pull it tight and then run the needle and the thread or yarn around the loop a couple times. I want to make sure that that extra yarn tail does not get cut off. I am going to knot it off down here at this bottom end, and I will pull it through to the inside. I'm going to use that in just a minute when we put the stuffing in. So make sure that you're pulling it really tight. You don't want this end to come open. We're not making a double layered stuffy here. We're making a single layer. So make sure your ends are closed really tight. However, when you're first drawstringing the other end, you want to pull it so that you can get all of your extra thread through, but you don't want to pull it down tight. So after I've pulled it down with my thumb inside, I kind of keep it open. Now I'm going to thread my polyfill onto my center line, and this is the tail that was from the blossom end or the other end of this. By threading it on, it keeps the stuffing in place more easily, and it also centers everything up. This is also the time when you get to sort of play with it and start shaping it. Now I need to go in and tighten this top down so that I can put the stem in. I make sure and stick either my thumb or my finger into the hole there when I'm tightening it down just a bit so that I don't tighten it all the way. I'm going to grab the tacky glue now and put a good squeeze of a thick white glue that dries clear down inside. And I'm going to be using blackberry bramble stem that I found laying underneath of the hedges in my yard. It's a couple years old probably. It's very dry. It's super lightweight, and I can cut it with my scissors. If you don't have sticks that you want to use for your stems, or you're going to give this to kids and you don't want them having sticks to poke them or whatever, just grab some felt, a little square of it, roll it up, glue it or stitch it, and then use it exactly the same way as the stick. Put the glue down inside the pumpkin, put the stem in, then continue to tighten that loop around the stem and stitch it closed. I am picking up both of the tails now and running them through at the same time just to tighten everything up and make sure that everything stays all together. I'm going to find the one tail though that is for the other end and sort of tug on it just a little bit to shape the bottom of the pumpkin. You know, you can do that. You can shape things even after you've been stitching. Look at that. Give you that nice little dimple at the bottom end, and then tie it off, stitch through, trim your ends. One last step here. I do want to trim off my stem. It was just a little bit too long. I can use my scissors to do that. I love this project. You can use it for so many things, and you get so many different looks depending on how many rounds of knitting you want to do. This was all done on the 22 needle. If you do it on a 46 or 48, you're going to get much bigger pumpkins. So remember to do something creative, take care of yourself, and be kind. I want to see you back here again really soon. Oh, don't forget, click that subscribe button and hit that like button. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.